Welcome to Courage for the Journey. This podcast is available wherever you like to podcast, or you can sign up by going to my website, juliefillinger.com. I am Julie Fillinger, and my desire is that telling my story will encourage you in yours. Welcome back. All month long, we've been talking about Christmas courage, and people have been opening up about their struggles, which is so powerful in helping others not feel alone. That's what happens when we're willing to share stories. So today I am so excited because I have the best of the best with me, my hubby, Eric Brock Fillinger. Thanks for coming in, babe.
It makes it sound like I'm in trouble. All three names.
The full name. I love your middle name. I want everyone to know it. So in starting this podcast, my hope has been that telling my story would encourage others in theirs. And I mean, you're a large part of my story.
I'm the best part of it.
That's probably true, at least the most significant. All right. Well, we've been through a lot together, really everything since we were 19 and 20 years old. That was my freshman year and your sophomore year of college. Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, Eric and I met the second quarter of college calculus. Now, I have no idea what I'm doing in calculus, but he's always been a smarty pants. And since he passed his high school AP exam, he didn't have to take the first quarter. So a mutual friend, shout out to Dwayne Pretty, whatever Dwayne's up to these days. I had dated him a few times and he introduced us. And you made it your mission to make me laugh out loud in class.
Yeah, imagine that we would get Julie to laugh and be disruptive. It wasn't just me. There were several of us that wanted to get Julie to laugh in class.
Yeah, well, college calculus came easier for you, and I had to actually pay attention.
Yeah, who knew calculus would be a romance class, right? Yeah, but it was unusual because the classroom was full of freshmen. But I had a family friend who was an English professor at the university, and she warned me that the science advisors want to get you right into your core curriculum, your level 200 and level 300 classes right away. And then you end up your senior year taking your gen ed. And so that's how I got in calculus my sophomore year. And Dwayne was the only other sophomore in the class. He was the only other person I knew in the class. And the rest is history.
The rest is history. So since that time and all throughout our lives, our stories have been similar due to shared experiences, but there are differences. And so we're going to get into the way that we process grief has been different. When Nicholas died, I was in between jobs and I could just stay home and lay on the couch. But you bravely went, right back to work immediately. Yeah. You're self-employed, so if you don't work, you don't get paid. And, one of us had to work to pay the bills.
Yeah, there were a lot of factors in that. With being a physician, you feel the duty to your patients. And I think I took a week off, was it?
I don't even think it was a week.
And men tend to deny things, right? If I just stay busy and I don't have to think about this, I will move on with life like it didn't happen. And that catches up with you.
Well, every patient for months wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
As if they were the only one asking you about it or telling you they're so sorry.
Yeah, to a point where my staff had to kind of prep patients and intervene.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah. And I'd tell them, hey, you came in here with a problem. We came to talk about you, not talk about me.
Yeah. And of course, they meant well.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Nicholas had worked in the office, and so some of the people knew him from that. And yeah.
Well, I got to stay home and grieve, but it forced you to push down your grief so you could function.
Yeah. And it was probably about a year, maybe even 2 years. Drew was in college, so it would have been 3 years after his death. That
4. Probably close to 4 years that Drew was in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we're counting.
The years start running together.
And I was meeting with a counselor, and he challenged me to read a book by Tim Keller, who I was familiar with Tim Keller, but I hadn't read any of his books. And so it was Walking with God Through Pain and Suffering. And that was life-changing.
Yeah, that's right, because I started to read it too.
Yeah.
Along with you.
And the thing that haunted me up to that point was the why. You'd read about promises in Scripture about honor your father and mother, that you may live long.
Right.
And I was like, Nicholas was. Every parent says their kid was good, but Nicholas really was. He had a strong sense of right and wrong and justice, and he was very compliant, always tried to do the right thing. He honored us. I mean, when we threatened punishment for something, it just melted him. He couldn't stand that. And so that why. And in that book, Walking with God Through Pain and Suffering, what Timothy Keller is doing is an exposition of the book of Job. And Job opens up with this scene in heaven where Satan comes into the presence of God, and God says, "Have you considered my servant Job?" And through a back and forth, Satan's like, yeah, but you protect Job, and so of course he's going to stay faithful to you, but if you let me make his life miserable, he'll curse you. And Job doesn't. And the amazing thing is you get through those, I think it's 50-some chapters, 40-some chapters, you get all the way to the end of the story, everything is restored to Job and then some. But he never knew why.
I know. That is, I mean, I would say that most of the listeners, when they don't get to know why something happened, they can get hung up on that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's just so hard to think that we won't know why until we get to heaven. That in itself is just a hard part of going through some kind of suffering.
And that was kind of a breakthrough moment for my journey, was once I realized that why wasn't the right question. It was, I could trust that God was good. Even if I didn't know the why, I could trust that God was good.
Yeah. So, Pastor Tom talked about this recently when he was going through the Lord's Prayer series, and he mentioned, I don't know how many different times, but the Lord is great and he's also good. And what he explained to me is his greatness, because I asked him, about it separately. So every now and then I bug him on his, own time. And so I asked him about it, and he said, the greatness of God, looks at his power, looks at his character trait of omnipotence. But the goodness of God shows that he's loving and kind, his loving kindness. Yeah. And so if you just were all powerful, but didn't have the loving kindness, that's not so great, right? And if you were very loving and kind, but you didn't have the power, well, that would be incomplete as well. But in his character being both good and great, or great and good.
Yeah, and holy.
Yeah.
If you had a being that is all powerful, all knowing, all present, and yet not holy, it would be a tyrant.
Right.
But because he is holy, his omnipotence and omnipresence and sovereignty and love and goodness, that it's all wrapped up in that holiness.
I think, though, I know I struggle with this, and I think a lot of people will struggle with realizing God has the power to do something, but he chose not to.
Yeah.
And I know that was something that was really difficult for me. He chose not to intervene when he could have. How is that good?
And, the Apostle Paul had the same question. And unfortunately, the verse gets thrown around too much in inappropriate context. But, God works everything out for the good of those who he's called. And trusting that and trusting the character of God, that he would never do anything wrong. Right? We look at that situation and say that's wrong, but we can't see the big picture.
Yeah. And I can see how he works it out for good, and I can see how he's used it for good in our lives. And so looking back, what do you think's made a difference in how you have healed from this horrific loss?
Well, in addition to just leaning on the character of God, honestly, that's something that's come more into focus here recently. But
I know it's been, what, 12 years?
Yeah.
12 years? And
Yeah.
I mean, we're still healing. We still find, milestones, right?
Right.
And on this whole journey. But sorry. So what were you saying about your healing?
Initially had a really good friend, Destin Sandlin, that went backpacking with me. We went to the Smoky Mountains, just the two of us, and he told me to bring a little notebook. And he started asking me questions and giving me tasks to do. I still have that little notebook.
Wow.
That was very instrumental. And Destin challenged me in that hike. He said, Eric, how do you know you're supposed to tell Nicholas's story? How are you going to tell Nicholas's story? I think you're going to have to tell your story and God's story.
See, and I didn't even know till recently. I mean, of course, I remember you two going on your hike together, and that being, real encouragement to you. But I didn't know that Destin challenged you with that. Say that again.
I can't tell Nicholas's story. Only Nicholas can tell Nicholas's story. I can talk about Nicholas, but I can't tell Nicholas's story. I can tell my story, and I can tell God's story in working in my heart and in my life, and how he has shaped me through that whole experience.
That's been one of the biggest surprises for me, and is that it's not telling Nicholas's story. And that's so much what I wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about him and tell his story, but just now, 12 years later, coming to the realization, like you just said, each person can only tell their own story and what God is doing through them. And that doesn't mean we won't continue to use Nicholas's memory.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And talk about him.
His story is interwoven into our story.
Sure. Yeah. So, all right. So getting back to what you were talking about, we've been on this journey together, and we chose early on not to blame one another. And I think that was a really, really good idea. Like you and Drew and I, we just chose early on that we're not blaming each other. And so what could have killed our marriage, God used to make us stronger.
Yeah. I think for me, the temptation was more to blame myself. That I missed something, or
how could this happen?
Yeah. How did we not know he was doing that hypoxic training? And
yeah, so though, I mean, there's probably a lot of listeners that don't know about that. I mean, I wrote a book about it, Courage to Live, learning to live again after loss, that details it. So we don't have to get into all the intricate details, but one of the things he was doing was hypoxic training.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit?
So the theory behind it is not true, but the theory behind it, and thankfully it's kind of fallen out of favor, was that you would put the brain in a situation where it was starving for oxygen, and then you would still do tasks, like whether it was push-ups or pull-ups or texting, where you were still having to think. You would put the brain in this uncomfortable position and you would still make it perform, and that would make you perform better.
Yeah, so Nicholas was seemingly participating in this activity unbeknownst to us, and we were just like, how could our really smart kid be doing this? It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And anyway, so we're like, how did we not know? How did we not know this? So, all right, well.
But because we had said we're not going to blame each other, there was a safe haven in our home.
Sure.
That we each had that voice of the accuser saying you're a failure as a parent. But because of our commitment to each other,
yes,
Drew telling us we were good parents, you saying you were a good dad, and me saying you're a good mom.
Yeah, I agree. That made a big difference. So that when the lies started coming, right, we could replace it with the truth and feel more confident about the truth, because you and Drew both were saying the truth as well. So we've been home alone together as empty nesters a number of years now, and we've always loved each other, but I'm so thankful we still like each other.
Oh, why did you think we wouldn't like each other?
I don't know. I was just afraid that when the boys were gone, we wouldn't still like each other. Like maybe we wouldn't find things that we both enjoyed. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, but we have. We have adventures that we do together.
We do. And we always did, actually. I mean, we always did try to do things like have dates and find things in common, find things we could do together.
But even the mundane of fixing dinner together, we have enjoyed doing that together as... Yeah.
Well, now we watch YouTube videos on all recipes. We're like, ooh, I think we can duplicate that one, right? Yeah, or dog videos. You showed me those dog videos, those reels, and oh my word, we've become addicted to reels, I think, in the evening, YouTube and reels. But anyway, we do get outside a little bit too, and we like to hike. We like to see beautiful scenery. Eric's gotten me addicted to first light and sunrise.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a
even this morning. Yeah.
Tyrant about it.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, you better get up. You're going to miss it.
But as long as there's a waterfall at the end of a 6-mile hike, I can get Julie to do it. But
yeah. Oh, yeah. See, so a couple...
Or a good sunset.
Listen, a couple weeks ago, I told the listeners that Robin would help me hide your body if needed. And I thought, you know what? Not everyone out there really knows our kind of dark sense of humor, kind of somewhat dark sense of humor. But honestly, you're really my favorite person to be with.
Yes. But one of my favorite places in America is the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
And in the fall, we usually like to go to the mountains for a getaway.
Yes.
And
it's beautiful.
We had talked about going up to this peak where there was a fire tower so that we could watch the sunset. It was supposed to be a great place to watch the sunset.
I know. I had really good reviews. So for some reason, I didn't realize once you get to the very top of the mountain, and you said there's a fire tower, but that meant you had to climb the fire tower.
Yeah. And the information that I had about this hike was that it wasn't that far. It was only 1 mile, and that it wasn't that much elevation gain.
Yeah, well, that was a lie.
Times. Yeah, it was. It
was a lie.
It was a tough hike. But it was worth it.
Looking back, yes, but at the time, I mean, my legs literally were noodles.
Yeah, about halfway up. She said,
Literally.
I think my sisters would help me hide your body.
That's right. If I pushed you over, the only reason I'm not pushing you over this cliff is because I need help to get back down. Yeah. Okay. So fun times. But yeah, you take me on adventures and we see beautiful scenery. And so a lot of our social media and pictures reflect those adventures. And I love that about us, that we've been able to continue to love each other, but also enjoy each other and continue to have adventures together. So God gave us 4 beautiful children that we don't deserve. And 2 of them, we have to wait until we get to heaven to even meet them. But the 2 that God did allow us to parent, I mean, honestly, they're way more incredible than we are. I don't know how. I mean, what did we do to deserve this blessing?
Yeah. That was one of the shocking things with Nicholas, was how large his sphere of influence was. You know, at his funeral, we met people from South Alabama that he had known from math team and from running, and he just had a large sphere of influence.
But not just that. I mean, so like all proud parents, we love to talk about them and their accomplishments.
Yeah.
So, you know, like Drew, he's already been on a Broadway tour.
Yeah.
And it is very credible, very likely that he's going to bust out on Broadway in New York.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
he has that drive, that determination,
yes.
and the talent to do it. Yeah.
All the things.
Yeah.
I mean, where did that come from? You know? I mean, and Nicholas really did have realistic goals of going to the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
I mean, his talent, his drive and passion as well. So I feel like in different ways, each of our boys got the best of us.
Yeah. And they really were a blessing, which, you know, let me take a time out and just talk about the blessing that children are.
Oh, please.
When we kind of have, I don't want anybody to have this perspective, but once your child is gone, all of the annoying things, you realize they were a blessing. I think it's real easy for us to get frustrated or overwhelmed with the busyness, all the things that are going on. But even in our culture, children are many times seen as a hindrance, something holding you back, not a blessing. To the point where some in our culture say it's okay just to terminate that life because they don't see a child as the greatest blessing. Aside from Jesus Christ and his sacrifice, they don't see